lovely, beautiful day and lunch here. Thanks to Black Horse and being in for this. So I'm going to move right along here and introduce formally Kimberly Craig, Executive Director of Monterey County Business Council and Mayor of Salinas.
I want to first take a quick moment and thank our sponsors for today. So just to give a round of applause, we have Betty Saxon and AT&T sponsored, so thank you. And Christina Colson with Monterey County Energy Independence, and I know we have a couple of people there, so thank you very much for your continued support. And a shout out to AMP, who got the memo that we have these events and said, hey, how do you feel about coming and taping it? Or recording. Taping is so 1980s. So just want to say thank you very much for reaching out. We're thrilled to have you as a partner, so thank you. Just a couple of quick updates. We have upcoming luncheons that I want to make you aware of. Sheriff Tina Nieto is coming here June 16th, and we have the CAO of the county, Sonia De La Rosa, on July 28th. Supervisor Glenn Church is going to be speaking for the Supervisor Speaker Series August 18th, and we have Luis Alejo September 15th, and Supervisor Chris Lopez in South County. We'll be having all of them in their respective districts. You can actually register for those right now on our on the MCBC website. This luncheon and the previous luncheon with Mary Adams both sold out, so I would encourage you, if you'd like to hear from the supervisors and get out and see the county, please register for those. We're anticipating that they sell out. And just a quick update, we are moving along with our current cohort with Leadership Monterey County. Next class is Government and Law Day. It's a 10-month program for management track individuals. We take individuals and take them out throughout the county to show what the economic drivers are. So we have a hospitality day, a healthcare day, an agriculture day. I know Supervisor Askew has done government and law, and I think that's our upcoming that is our upcoming class on May 26th. We have a nonprofit day where we talk about homelessness and programs for kids. It's a really, really integral part of really understanding what drives the economy in Monterey County. And with that, I'm going to give the opportunity to hand over the microphone very briefly to Jose Luis to talk about building business back. So please welcome Jose.
Good morning, everyone. So very briefly, Building Business Back also has a few upcoming events I'd like to highlight with you for the month of June. So our first event of June is called Business Builders. It's a lunch and learn type of event where we'll pay for lunch over at Monterey Cookhouse. And we're going to share information for business owners on soon to expire programs. So we want to make sure all businesses take advantage of these different programs. And again, it's a free event June 7th over in Monterey. Also on Thursday, June 15th, 4 to 6 p.m., we're hosting a workshop in Spanish called El Sueño Americano con su ITIN, which translates to the American Dream with your ITIN. So essentially, we've received a lot of requests from undocumented business owners and undocumented residents to host a workshop in which we can share information on how they can start a business and purchase a home with an ITIN number. So we're going to be hosting that in collaboration with Consul of Mexico, Honorary Consul of Mexico, Attorney Blanca Sarasua, Platinum Tax Pros, and Blue Adobe Mortgage to share this information. And we're also going to have a free workshop on Thursday, June 29th, 2 sessions, one in English, one in Spanish. Spanish session will be in Salinas, English session will be in Marina, and both will be in partnership with TNC Community Capital, and they specialize in micro-lending and startup lending. So essentially, if a business needs access to capital or someone wants to start a business and they're unable to get that capital, we partnered with TMC to go ahead and provide that information, what documents do you need. They have very amenable lending terms, and they also lend to ITIN holders as well. So we'd like to invite you to all of our workshops, and all of our workshops are free thanks to the County of Monterey's contribution to our program. And our programming is free because the County of Monterey has dedicated funding to helping businesses recover from the pandemic and thrive. Thank you.
I am very happy this Friday afternoon to introduce my friend, Supervisor Root Askew. Wendy's done quite a bit here in Monterey County. Before being a county supervisor, she served one term in the Monterey Peninsula Unified School District Board of Education. She's a founding member of the Monterey Peninsula Housing Coalition, which works to increase affordable housing on the Monterey Peninsula. I won't read all of this because it's so long. She's done so much. Supervisor Askew represents the communities of Sand City, Delray Oaks, Marina, East Garrison, CSUMB, Salinas, and Seaside. And just very recently, she has launched her campaign for re-election for District 4 County Supervisor. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me today. I do just like to set the stage, and a lot of the audiences that I talk to really aren't familiar with the sort of the baseline of like what is the county, what is a supervisor, what do we do, why are we here, and so I enjoy sort of giving everyone the opportunity to hear some of that. This is year number 3 for me on the Board of Supervisors, and it feels like it's been a lifetime. I started in January of 2021 in the middle of COVID, rotated in as chair of the Board of Supervisors while we were having hybrid meetings, spending hours every Tuesday talking about COVID, county response, for emergency response, partnering with our cities. I think we had regular, was it once a week, meetings with all of our mayors, working just in this sort of crisis response. Everyone was juggling a lot of things. So a lot of the ideas that I had, the reasons why I had decided to run in the first place kind of got pushed to the side a little bit because we had so many other big issues that were right in front of us. But I love this work. It's so much more challenging than I could have ever imagined. Having worked with the previous supervisor for 12 years, I had some sense of like what I was walking into. I worked really closely with Jane for a long time and was shocked. Like I came in, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so much harder than at least what I saw. And also the rewarding, like the personal satisfaction of like pushing things forward, seeing relationships come together, seeing solutions get implemented. Like there's this incredibly satisfying feeling that is unparalleled to anything I've ever done in my life. And I feel so lucky to be here. So thank you for listening to me. And I won't talk about re-election, but if you want to call me later, I'll have my cell phone out because I'm on the clock with the county, so we're gonna have that conversation. But we'll throw through a couple slides, hopefully we'll have some time for comments and questions. So quick, like this is what the county is. I think I grew up in this county and never knew how big it was or what all it included. We have 12 incorporated cities plus the county of Monterey, 90 miles of coastline. Our poverty level is higher than the statewide average, and our median household income is below the statewide average, but our median home price is fairly significant, as is the cost of living here. So just as a context, baseline, District 4, so I represent those 5 county supervisors. The county is like a subdivision of the state, governed by 5 elected supervisors. We each are elected by a district. District 4 looks like this. We've got Delray Oaks, Sand City, Seaside, the Fort Ord National Monument. Turn, I think it's 12 of Laguna Seca is over here along 68 in my district. Marina, East Garrison, CSUMB, and then a beautiful portion of South Salinas. So that is District 4. County overview, about a $2 billion budget that we're set to approve in June. Most of those dollars, 2/3-ish, come from state and federal designated funding sources for designated functionalities. So like Clinico, the county operates some FQHC health clinics with money that's dedicated for those services or are earned through delivery of those services. We have 26 now, I think, departments. We just added an office, Department of Emergency Management. Given that we've spent so many months in FEMA-declared disasters, we needed to up our staffing and elevate that department so that we could be responsive. For the first time ever in county history, we have all 5 of our constitutional elected officers. So in addition to the 5 elected supervisors who represent districts, we have an additional 5 countywide elected officials For the first time ever, they're all women, which is kind of a big deal. So I like to call that out. First time, hopefully not the last time. It'll be a while, but and our new administrative officer, Sonia De La Rosa, is also our second member in that position. So we can go to the next one. In addition to so this is a full-time job for me. All of our supervisors have a staff of 3. So Kamar's here with me on day 5 of his new role in our office. So in addition to our Tuesday board meetings, we sit on all of these regional boards and bodies. So this morning I was a little bit late because I was coming from the region board meeting, which is the landfill, and we were approving a biochar pilot project. But I feel really strongly to make sure we moved it forward. So I want to make sure I was there for the vote so we could keep it going. But most of these other boards and committees have regional influence. So one of them that I like to talk about is that I sit on with Dr. Cuevas is the Central California Alliance for Health. That's our Medi-Cal managed care plan. So anyone who has Medi-Cal in Monterey County receives their Medi-Cal through the Alliance. And the Alliance is right now a tri-county body. And in Monterey County, about half of our kids have their health insurance through Medi-Cal, about a third of our adults. And almost 70% of the babies born in Monterey County are born to moms who rely on Medi-Cal for their insurance. So really critical, fundamental safety net kind of services and functions that affect everyone. So I said those first 2 years in office were wild. Some of the big wins that we've had, and I have to keep these up on my wall because otherwise I forget. I'm like, okay, no, we're not getting anything done. What's next? Like, what are we working on next? But some things I'm really proud of. We've made some huge investments in parks, opened up our parks to everyone for free. So Toro Park no longer has a day use fee. We know that that's a benefit to our community. We've made investments in a Seaside social services building. We want to support Seaside and the Upper Broadway renovation. We've made investments in climate action. We've spent a tremendous amount of time and money in pandemic response. And we're working on bringing all of our lower paid employees up to competitive wages so that we can keep our positions filled in the county. So just a couple big wins that we've had early on. And then there's 3 big projects that I did identify coming into office in district that I wanted to really sort of find a way to champion. We began working on these projects not really knowing that there was a clear path to follow to get to the outcome we wanted, but I knew that if we didn't talk about it and begin the conversation, we were never going to get anywhere moved forward. The Marina Health Clinic is one of those in-district priorities. This is on Reservation Road, Reservation in DeForest, kitty corner to the post office. It's a small little 4-room clinic that serves about 2,000 Marina residents who have Medi-Cal. We have about 10 to 12,000 residents in Marina who need access to FQHC clinic services. We don't have the space to serve them, so we were able to get this clinic project identified as a $10 million priority budget request, and we're shopping it around to our state and federal partners, as well as working with county facilities. We've got to identify a parcel that we can build a new facility on. That's one project we've been pushing for. The next one is in Seaside. This is Broadway Avenue and Noche Buena. The Casa de Noche Buena shelter is in the portable. It's right here. And this building here was built like in the 70s. It's our county social services building. So when you look at countywide, about, I want to say like close to half of our residents benefit from county assistance in some way. So whether that's food stamps, Medi-Cal eligibility, CalWorks, oh my gosh, there's a lot of things that the county provides social safety nets for. Most of those funnel through social services. So we have about 60 county employees who are at the site, and the building is not, for our employees on the upper stories, it's not ADA compliant, so we have to constantly adjust. The interview rooms are the size of this podium. They're not sufficient to meet the needs of our residents. And Upper Broadway and Seaside, they've got a vision to really renovate and like create a vibrant corridor within Seaside. So through other projects, we've secured millions of dollars for the renovation towards the complete streets of Upper Broadway. I want to re-envision the county's role and how we can use this parcel that the county owns and redevelop it in a way that allows for the respectful delivery of services for anyone receiving social services, We want to relocate the library. We want to look at what kind of water credits we have here and if we can do affordable housing on the site. And we want to build it at a higher density format that is in alignment with what the city of Seaside is thinking about. As it currently exists now, the only word I can use to describe it is blight-like. When you drive up the street, it is utilized, so it's not actually blight, but it's not, it doesn't contribute anything to the broader vision in Seaside. So we did get $250,000 approved in last year's budget, and we're moving forward with the site assessment work that has to be done to be able to take the next step to then shop around for funding. We don't have county funding for social services for this kind of facility, so it is, but currently this is our top county capital improvement project. So, and then in Salinas, the downtown vibrancy plan was one of those things that I knew about and was, kind of exciting if you really take a step back and look at it. And the question that I had to ask when I was running for office and got elected was, where is the county's role in advancing this? How can the county be supportive of the city of Salinas's vision for a vibrant, economically healthy, ooh, got some nerve out there. I got excited. Downtown Salinas, right? And when the Salinas downtown is economically healthy and vibrant, the county benefits as well. So we're looking at how the county can be a partner in consolidating some of the parking, the surface parking lots that are downtown. It's a fairly challenging argument to make without sort of broadly thinking about, climate action, what are the types of communities that we want to build. If you talk about just building a parking structure, $50,000 per parking spot, you're going to free up some land to build infill development. There's some economic property tax and sales tax that comes from that. It doesn't quite offset the cost of building that parking, but we're trying to paint this picture of what the bigger vision is and why on a larger scale it is beneficial to consolidate that parking in order to achieve these goals that we've laid out. So that conversation is ongoing, and we'll be coming back to our board and city council for some direction moving forward. So I'd love to chat with anyone who wants to talk more about that. But those are three big sort of capital facility projects that we're working on in partnership with our three of the biggest cities in my district. And no discredit to Mayor Scott Donaldson from Delray Oaks. We've also got other things we're working on with Delray Oaks, but the county doesn't own land in Delray Oaks. So yeah, we're not leaving them out. All right, let me check my time real quick. And you'll tell me when to wrap it up.
I have a cane.
You have a cane. So other things that are not exciting, but that I get really excited, stupidly excited about, is blight removal. And maybe this is because I live in Marina and we've been surrounded by just these old blighted barracks, all of the former Fort Ord that has been left to literally rot and burn. My office in Marina has been surrounded by blighted, dangerous buildings that have been left to burn, that go up in flames every so often. And so getting that blight taken down has been sort of a long time, I don't know if you call it a passion project, that doesn't sound right, but keeping it on the county's radar, I think, is one of the biggest things that I've been able to do. So whether it's the old portables that we had in East Alisal that were used as the homeless shelter for a period of time, everyone just kind of forgot that they were there. They were going to be left behind. No one had included money in our budget a year ago to get those removed until we were like, wait, why are these not, figure out, so we did some elbowing in the budget process and were able to get the money that we needed to get those old buildings removed. Things like this fence. This is the fence on Palm and Del Monte in the city of Marina, but it's along the transportation agency railroad right of way. It was just left over from when the train ran. And I drive by it every day, and I'm like, why do we have that old chain link, rusted out chain link fence in the middle of town? I sit on the transportation agency, so as soon as I got elected, I'm like, this is on the list, we're getting that fence down. They gave me they had the contractors come out and take it down, but they also gave me cutters to just, and I had to wear the helmet to make sure I didn't hurt myself. So anyway, that's, there's more blight. There's so much more blight in District 4 left over from the former Fort Ord on East Garrison and within the cities. So I continue to figure out how do we fund that, how do we keep that as a forefront, because my kids shouldn't have to grow up with that kind of blight that was left over from the military. So we have two economies in Monterey County that are the foundation, the basis of what drives us, agriculture and hospitality. And the reality is that Monterey County, as a result of those two large industries, we have one of the highest rates of undocumented individuals in the state of California, if you look at county by county. So our undocumented neighbors who make up our workforce by and large don't have access to the Medi-Cal, much of Medi-Cal that's available. The kids now have Medi-Cal access and over 50 have Medi-Cal access, but that working class population, of 18 to 50, if they're undocumented and low income, you don't have access to Medi-Cal. So a couple of years ago, the county started Esperanza Care, and we have $2.5 million that funds, it's an access to care program in Monterey County for eligible low-income undocumented residents. About a third of the residents who participate in the program are from District 4. They live in District 4, primarily women who are moms between the age of 30 and 50. Primarily they're using their access to, we give them access to a primary care doctor, access to a very small list of formularies for prescription medication, and access to some very basic specialty care like blood work, ultrasounds. So women are primarily getting assistance with diabetes, gynecological issues, that allow them to go back and be healthy, caretakers of their family and continue working. So it's been a wildly successful, kind of very quiet program that I'm super, super proud of here in Monterey County. The next one, Vita Care. If you haven't seen the Vita folks, yeah, let me show. Let me show maybe in this picture, but like out in community. This was one of the things that the county initiated, thanks to the community, some community groups, COPA, coming to the county saying, hey, we've got, this COVID thing has gone wild. Like we were experiencing some of the worst outcomes for our residents in Monterey County early on. Some of the highest rates of infection, some of the just horrific situations that were playing out. So the county put $5 million. This was right before I came on the board, but I'd been working as a staffer behind the scenes to build it up. But $5 million ended up being a total of $7 million to the community foundation, who ended up being about 120 just community members, like neighbors who lived in community, who became community health workers. And we got down to targeting by precincts of where the precincts in Monterey County that were most negatively impacted by COVID. And we sent community health workers out literally door to door to leave flyers on doors, to knock on doors, to let people know, do you need diapers? Do you need food? What do you need? Do you need help applying for a vaccination? Do you need testing? Do you need isolation housing? All of the things that needed to happen. When we had vaccination clinics, these were the folks who were there. When we had testing available, these were the folks who were there. When we had the Pajaro flooding, this is who we called to say, we need you on site right now. So this program is set to end. Right now, it's expensive, but I think it was one of the reasons why we had such, our outcomes in Monterey County was related to COVID were pretty exceptional compared to what you see across the state and country. The county's response to homelessness in partnership with our cities has really been, I don't want to say exceptional because there's still so much work that we need to do and because so many people still remain unhoused, but in comparison to the outcomes that other communities are seeing, we're making really good progress here in Monterey County, relatively speaking. So, and this is the slide that I'm going to point out, and this is within the county's homeless census. So the county does a point-in-time count every 2 years. HUD requires us to do this in order to get money for our housing and homeless service providers. So it breaks it down, and this is just sort of it's not, I wouldn't look at it and say these are exact numbers, but from a trend perspective and from an overall comparables perspective, there's guidelines for how every community has to collect this data. So we can kind of have a snapshot of like how are we doing year over year. So you have our unsheltered numbers in 2017 were 2,113, and 2019 1,830, and 2022 we're down to 1,300. So this decrease in our unsheltered count of homeless individuals in Monterey County, it's tremendous. It's huge. If you look at most other communities' point-in-time count, you're seeing numbers that go 2,100, 2,700, 3,200. You're seeing double-digit increases. We're one of the few communities that for the past, since 2017, as we've been doing this work in partnership with cities, we're one of the only ones that are seeing a decrease in our unsheltered count of homeless individuals in the county. And I get it. It doesn't feel like that. It doesn't look like that. But statistically, from a data perspective, the work that we're doing is making a difference. And it's not enough. We have 1,300 unsheltered people. It is not enough. We have to do more. But I do want to recognize that there are good things happening in this space. We could talk a lot more about that. I also want to just give a quick recognition of when you look at our the sheltered numbers, and you see Marina has 275 shelter beds, Salinas at 288, so, and then Seaside has 62. So District 4 right here, we have the vast majority of all shelter beds in the entire county. And my ask of every other city is to help us continue to provide shelter beds in our community so that we can address this need on an ongoing basis and get these folks into shelter so that we can get shelter into permanent housing. So thank you to all my District 4 folks who have welcomed our neighbors into your community and are making sure that we're giving them a path to safe, legal housing. This is like a little study on homeless, the language we use. So we have HUD definitions of homelessness, and we have education code definitions of homelessness, and they're different. So when we say we have our 1,300 or 2,000 unsheltered individuals in Monterey County, we have our HUD definition of homeless. We also have a McKinney-Vento definition. And when we say student homelessness, we're counting children who are living, they may be in a garage, they may be double, tripled up in bedrooms, with multiple families. Monterey County has one of the highest, significantly, exponentially higher rates of student homelessness than you're going to find anywhere else on the Central Coast. And it's, I think, a proxy of the reality that we have a lot of people who are on the brink of unhoused status. So it's a canary in the coal mine, and it's a real challenge for our school system. So I'd just like to acknowledge and call that out. We're doing work on housing. We've got a bunch of affordable housing coming online in District 4. We've got East Garrison housing. We've got the Veterans Transition Center has another 70 units of housing. We've got just a lot of additional, we're prioritizing that, we're focusing on, and where the county can support our cities in making that happen, we're really trying to make sure that that's happening. We're looking at about a $2 million budget, $2 billion budget, $2 billion, for this coming year, and we are not in a, we've been very lucky with the ARPA money that we've had available to us and some other one-time revenues, but we are quickly moving from a place of having plenty of cash on hand to quickly not having a lot of cash on hand. And I think the biggest evidence of that I can point to is that we just, we're spending into our strategic reserve right now in response to the first storm response. And so there's a lot of requests coming at the county for funding in this next budget cycle. But we're going to have to, I think, really tighten the purse strings for the first time in a while. So FYI on that one. We do have some amazing, Monterey County is incredibly wealthy as a community, and I appreciate that, and it's in large part to the businesses that have been so successful in our community. Cannabis revenue has taken a fall off the cliff this most recently, but over the last couple of years, it's been a tremendous source of I'm going to call it discretionary revenue that has been treated as one-time dollars. So we haven't adjusted our baseline to hit those, to account for these revenues. So this isn't, anyway, we've got some readjusting to do here. Property tax revenue is one of our biggest sources of discretionary revenue. We're at about $200 million in property tax revenue. So to any realtors in the house, thank you very much. Keep it up. And then our transient occupancy tax, so hospitality, those of you who are hospitalized, Embassy Suites, yes, thank you. So we've been steady at right around $25 million. It dropped a little bit during COVID, but not anything like what we were expecting, and has just rebounded incredibly. So let's stay at the 40 million, that would be great. It will make up for the lost revenue that we have in cannabis. But I think it speaks to the fact that the success of our local businesses, it directly impacts the county's ability to provide the services and programs like I talked about with Esperanza Care, Vita Care, all of these other really important things that benefit the community. So my investment in ensuring that these things continue to be healthy and strong is directly related to my ability to make sure that we're providing services and funding for the other programs that need it. So just wanted to make that clear connection there, and connect it to the Business Council, because the work that you're doing to help our business recovery, not just when we talk about recovery, it's recovery, but also to come out stronger and healthier and more resilient than ever before. So Jose, thank you for everything you're doing. It's not, every community doesn't have an organization like the Business Council that we could say, we've got this money, who can do the work for us, go get it done, and like people are ready to jump and go. So I'm forever grateful. I just want to acknowledge, thank you again, thank you for having me. I feel a little scrambled today. My husband hopped in the car at 4 a.m. to go say goodbye to his mom, who's dying in San Diego. So I'm watching my phone for his call to come through, and then we'll have to go deal with whatever we have to go deal with. But we're all dealing all the time with like heavy, complicated life things. We have mothers, we have children, we have coworkers, and yet we continue to show up. Like you all continue to show up. Sometimes on 2 hours sleep. I don't know if anyone has little babies at home here, but I was with someone yesterday who had a little one at home and had been up all night. But they're still there. They're still showing up for the community. And collectively, I think it's because we all keep showing up and because you're willing to tell me what you really think. And Andrea made some, we were at a meeting the other day, made some like just honest comments to me. And I am grateful for that level of like, that I can tell you where I'm coming from. You can tell me where you're coming from. We don't always have to agree. There's nobody I agree with all the time, but we can like treat each other as humans and acknowledge that we're all ultimately committed to these greater goals for our community. And that's why you're here, that's why I'm here. And with that, I will wrap it up, I think, if I'm out of time.
We have time for maybe 2 questions.
Okay, we'll do 2 questions. But thank you again for having me, I really appreciate it.
As always, we recognize that you have a choice in what you do on a Friday afternoon, and so we very much appreciate the time that you gave to us here today with Monterey County Business Council. If you liked what you did today, we do have more coming up, and so we would really encourage you to register early and often. And with that, have a great weekend. Thank you.